Hey everybody, and welcome to a short sparkler video to hopefully grab your attention and get you ready for the It Takes a Spark conference in Toowoomba in 2021. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jonti. I'm a researcher at the University of Southern Queensland where I'm Professor of Astrophysics. You can probably tell from my accent, I'm not local. I'm not originally from Australia, although I am now a proud Australian. I grew up in the north of England in a really quite poor region during a time when all of the jobs locally had gone away, during the mining crisis in the 1980s. But I got really lucky and I discovered that I had a real passion for astronomy, for the study of all things the night sky. And that passion has taken me on a journey that's brought me halfway around the world and let me do my hobby as a job. It's given me that great opportunity to do what I love every single day of my life. And if you want to hear more about my journey, I will be talking about that in more detail at the conference next year. But what is astronomy? I say I'm an astronomer, I say I do astronomy. What is it? Well, astronomy is very unusual. It's a science. It's part of STEAM. But the other sciences, you can call them experimental. If you think about physics, you want to work out how something works, you do an experiment. You want to figure out how a cannon works, you build a cannon and you fire it and you see how far the cannonball goes. If you're studying chemistry and you want to see what happens if you mix two things together, you get in a safe environment, you mix them in a petri dish and you see what happens. If you're a biologist and you want to see how bacteria react to acid, for example, you grow some bacteria and you pour acid on them, you can do experiments. But in astronomy, which is the study of the cosmos, all of the things that we look at, that we study, are so far away that we can't do experiments. We can't just get a star and put it in a petri dish or put it in a cannon and see what happens. So instead of being an experimental science, astronomy is an observational science. It's a detective story. We look out at the universe, at the cosmos, and we gather clues that we piece together to try and help us to understand the way that everything works. So here's an example. Imagine you look up at the beautiful bright night sky with many, many stars, and this is genuinely a real photograph. You see all these stars and you want to figure out how stars live, how they're born, and how they die. Well, let's give you an analogy here. Imagine that you're an alien and you were dropped in the middle of Brisbane and you were told you have 15 minutes to walk around to just look at people. You can't touch them, you can't talk to them. And in that 15 minutes, you've got to work out the human life cycle. You'll admit it's really, really hard. But if you're paying attention, you'll probably see a lot of people. You'll see young people and old people, children and retired people. You're very unlikely to see somebody die, and you're very unlikely to see somebody being born. But you can probably piece together something of the story by looking at the different kinds of people you see. And of course, the more people that you see, the better that story would be. Now, when we look out at the universe and we try and work out how stars live, how they're born and how they die, we're very fortunate that we live in an enormous city of stars, the Milky Way galaxy. This isn't our galaxy, this is another galaxy quite like it, a long, long way away, called the Whirlpool Galaxy. When we look out at our galaxy, our city of stars, we see something like 400,000 million stars. This incredible number of stars. We're looking at those stars for a very short period of their lives. A star like the Sun will live for 10,000 million years and more. And if we observe it for 100 years, that's just like a few heartbeats of that lifetime. So you can't really see any individual star changing. But when you look into the cosmos, you see so many stars that you can piece together the story. You see young stars being born in these beautiful glowing pink nebulae. You see stars settling into the prime of their life, and you see old stars coming to the end of their lives. By piecing together the evidence from those 400,000 million stars, we can build the story of how stars live, how they're born, and how they die. The work I do is trying to answer a different question. Not the question of how stars live and are born, but rather, are we alone in the universe? It's a question that really fascinates people all around the world and people of all ages. And we don't have an answer yet. The one place that we do have an answer is in fiction. Wherever we look, whether it's in written books, whether it's in science fiction, whether it's in TV shows, aliens are everywhere. Now, of course, the aliens in our TV shows, like those you see here, are very much like humans. They're like you hold up a mirror to yourselves and look into that mirror and see what you can find out. But for me, what the prevalence of aliens in those TV shows tells us is just how interested everybody is in this question, are we alone in the universe? Now, we live at a really exciting time. My parents' generation, my grandparents, and going back through time for hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of years, people have asked this question. They've wanted to know whether there is other life out in the cosmos, but we haven't had the tools to answer it. We, though, are a generation where we might just be able to do that. Before you can look for life, though, you need to find places that life could exist. You need to find the proverbial needle in a haystack. You need to find planets orbiting other stars, planets like the Earth. And that's one of the hardest things we've ever had to do. When I was growing up as a kid in Yorkshire, we only knew of 8 planets, the planets in the solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. We didn't know if the solar system was unique or if planets were common in the cosmos. Over the last 30 years, we've begun this incredible journey of discovery. Looking out at those distant stars, we've finally been able to uncover the first planets orbiting around them. We found that planets are everywhere. When you look at a beautiful sky like this, you can be certain that all of the stars you can see have planets moving around them. And we're getting better and better at doing that. The current state of the art in searching for alien worlds is a wonderful NASA spacecraft called TESS. And I'm just going to show you a short video describing TESS that the nice people at NASA have produced.
Since the dawn of time, mankind has sought an answer to an undying question: are we alone? Now, humans possess the technology to solve this mystery, and we will shift their gaze to the stars. This is the search for exoplanets. This is TESS.
So the TESS mission is absolutely incredible. It's a big NASA mission, but it might surprise you to know that here in southeast Queensland, we at the University of Southern Queensland are part of this great adventure. Just to the southwest of Toowoomba, we have Mount Kent Observatory, our own private astronomical observatory. And at Mount Kent, we have an incredible dark site where we can look up at the night sky, see the Milky Way in all its glory, and see thousands and thousands of stars with the naked eye, and millions and billions of stars with our telescopes. And we're working with NASA to follow up on the plethora of planets that TESS is discovering. TESS tells us that it thinks it's found an alien world, and we use our own observatory that we've custom built for this purpose, to study those planets in more detail, to confirm that they really exist, and to learn more about them, with the ultimate goal being to find planets of our very own, planets where we can say that we've discovered these planets from here in southeast Queensland, that they were discovered in Toowoomba. And we've already made a few discoveries, and there are many more to come. Now that's our first step. Once we find these alien worlds, the next step, and the question that you may answer in the years to come as you grow up and become scientists yourselves, is how we look for life on those alien worlds. Because that's going to be an incredibly hard thing to do. And it's quite possible, as in this wonderful comic here, that when we look for life, we may look for the wrong things. We don't just have to point our telescopes and hope, we have to work out what to look for. How should we search, and where should we search? They're the questions that we're trying to answer here in southeast Queensland at the University of Southern Queensland. And hopefully they're the questions that in the years to come we'll answer, and that you guys will be part of that journey of discovery. And with that, I'd just like to invite you all to come along to the It Takes a Spark conference next year in June 2021, where you can hear a lot more about the wonderful work we're doing right here in regional Queensland. Thank you for your attention.